سلیمانی در آتش.
Lots with some signs of progress.
Is the sky sending out a sound that doesn't belong to this world, as fire and ash sweep across the continents all at once, signaling that time is being cut short until it's hard to breathe? The first days of 2026 have kicked off with one event after another, where nature is roaring, people are rising up, and holy signs are piling on top of each other like warning bells, forcing us to stop and look straight at the uncertain future ahead. 10 events, from strange-shaped tornadoes, fire bursting from the ground, wildfires, riots, wars, to weird lights up in the clouds, have exploded one after another, swallowing up any feeling of safety we're used to. Are we facing signs we can't just brush off? Or are we trying to look away to avoid the truth that's coming out? This story isn't over yet, because each sign is just the first piece of a bigger picture that's slowly taking shape. Let's dive into each part together, and if you can, please say a little prayer for ourselves and for peace in the world. Write down in the comments. Now come with me as we look closer at the 10 events that show the flames of chaos swallowing up this world. We'll start right away with the first on. 1. The strange trumpet-shaped tornado. The sky over the southern plains of the United States suddenly felt heavy in a way that made the air seem tight, creating a nameless unease, like when you sense something has just slipped out of nature's usual path. No explanation needed. The images in the videos alone were enough to leave viewers quietly amazed, the kind of feeling that hints a chain of events is starting to unfold. This happened in parts of Texas and Arizona, places no stranger to strong winds and fierce tornadoes born from big storm systems. Winds reached over 120 miles an hour, not rare in weather records, but the shape of this tornado was unusually hard to ignore. Drone and phone videos showed it stretching straight up, narrow in the middle, and wider at the top, looking a lot like a giant trumpet pointed at the sky. The tornado didn't last long, but it was intense. Its wide swirl, hundreds of feet across, swept the ground, picking up dust, debris, and panic. The low, steady roar of the wind sounded more like a regular call than random noise. Many Christians saw the shape and sound as a reminder of the first trumpet mentioned in old scriptures. In Revelation 8-6 it says, "And the 7 angels, who had the 7 trumpets, prepared themselves to sound." That line is often seen as the start of a series of events, not to explain weather, but to place it in a bigger picture of warning. When you put the odd-shaped tornado next to those words, the vague feeling becomes clearer, because the similarity is in the symbol, not the science. Revelation 8-7 goes on, "The first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the trees were burned up." That part doesn't mention wind or tornadoes, but it stresses the beginning of a chain of changes that can't be undone. That's why this strange-looking tornado feels to some like an opening signal rather than just a one-off event. Skeptics still call it a random coincidence among thousands of recorded tornadoes, pointing to stats and climate patterns. But the quiet question remains. Out of so many familiar shapes, why did this one echo a symbol that's been in religious texts for thousands of years? If it's a first warning, it's not loud or judgmental, just big enough to make people stop and listen. And once that opening signal has appeared, whatever rises from the ground next might be what makes the rest of the events impossible to brush off. 2. Mayon volcano erupts. The mountain that folks in the Bicol region long saw as a peaceful symbol suddenly turned into something overwhelming, with a column of ash and fire ripping through the sky out of nowhere, forcing everyone to look in just one direction. It happened so fast that videos spread in just a few hours, giving that feeling like the ground had been woken up after a long, angry sleep. Mayon sits in Albay province, standing over 8,000 feet tall, and it's one of the most active volcanoes in the Philippines, with eruptions going back centuries. Local people are used to having it around, but this wake-up call was unusually strong. Thick clouds of ash quickly covered everything, choking out the daylight and leaving the horizon lost in heavy gray. Hot flows of material rolled down the slopes at speeds up to hundreds of feet per second, carrying rocks, ash, and poisonous gases. The heat was enough to burn everything in its path, turning once green areas into black, scorched streaks in no time. We saw crowds of people rushing away from their homes, evacuation roads packed full, and panic spreading with every step they took to get out. Scientists say built-up pressure from magma, deep down, along with underground earthquakes, pushed Mayon past its stable point. Local authorities kept raising the alert levels, setting up no-go zones several miles wide, and ordering thousands of residents to leave the danger areas. Urgent warnings came one after another, not to calm people, but to stress that the risk was still there and not easing up. In Revelation 8:8, it says, "The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain, burning with fire, was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood." That image of a great mountain burning with fire from the Old Text often comes up as a strong reminder. When fire isn't just a natural thing anymore, but a symbol of revelation and judgment, seeing it next to footage of Mayon erupting, that feeling doesn't seem distant or abstract. Luke 21:11 also says, "There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and pestilences, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven." This passage doesn't explain causes, but lists the effects like a serious record where one upheaval follows another, forming a chain that's hard to break. A volcano eruption like this gets seen as part of a bigger picture, where nature and people both face their limits. The fire from Mayon isn't just burning the slopes. It's lighting up a clear warning about things we've overlooked or taken lightly. And while the lava is still glowing hot, a quiet question comes up. If fire has already poured down from the mountain, what else might get caught in the next spread when that fire reaches farther into the forests? 3. Puerto Patriota wildfire. No sirens, no warning, just a heavy silence so thick you could hear the dry wind rushing through the treetops. Then, from the horizon, a red glow started spreading, like a wound opening up, letting everyone know the calm was over. In the Puerto Patriota area, down in Chubut province in southern Argentina, the ancient forests of Patagonia suddenly became fuel for the flames. The fire didn't explode all at once. It crept in, slow and steady, as if blocking every way out. The air got trapped in smoke and heat, leaving that trapped, breathless feeling. The flames spread over more than 5,000 acres. Strong winds along the mountainsides pushed lines of fire that swallowed whole sections of forest. Towers of smoke rose thousands of feet high, covering the sky and turning daytime into a dull gray. Major international news outlets reported that around 3,000 tourists had to leave the area in an emergency, as national parks were closed off one by one. In the middle of all that fire, wild animals hardly had a chance. Birds and other creatures panicked, trying to escape, many caught in rings of heat and poisonous smoke. The damage isn't just measured in acres burned, but in the permanent empty spaces left in the ecosystem. Maybe when you see pictures like that, you wonder just how small people really are against an out-of-control fire. All our technology and plans seem so fragile when nature fights back in its harshest way. Experts say the long dry weather, strong winds, and possibly human causes created perfect conditions for the disaster. Local authorities keep sending out warnings, limiting access to the forests and calling for people to follow evacuation orders, because even one little spark can start a chain of destruction that can't be undone. In times like these, the Bible comes up as a way to understand the deeper meaning. 2 Peter 3:10 says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar. The elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything done in it will be laid bare." Fire isn't just a physical thing. It's also a picture of complete cleansing. Then Revelation 8:7 sounds like a cold description of what's happening. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Fires covering the earth aren't strange anymore. They're a haunting pattern that keeps repeating. That's why wildfires are seen as a sign burning away the rotten things humanity has planted. The forests have burned, the ground is black, but the question still hangs. When the fire starts from inside people's hearts, what's left in the world to put out that kind of chaos? 4. Chaos is blazing in Iran, with the younger generation tearing down a statue of Qasem Soleimani. The air in Kashan is tense as a wire, filled with shouts, siren wails, and smoke from fires wrapping the streets in a wild rhythm that's hard to control. Those first moments of the protest pushed everything past the usual limits, and right now, we're probably wondering what's really being driven to the edge. In Isfahan province, where political unrest has been building for a while, the crowd quickly turned into an angry flood. The statue of Qasem Soleimani was pulled down amid loud cheers. Flames shot up fiercely. Tear gas spread everywhere, turning the streets into battle lines. According to CNN and Fox, security forces were deployed in heavy numbers. Many roads were blocked, and the hotspots kept shifting in just a few hours. Reports of casualties and arrests come in bits and pieces, showing how tough the situation is to handle. Political analysts say the anger isn't just from one symbol being burned. It's built up over years of social discontent, economic pressures, and deep divisions in beliefs. They warn that when trust wears away, any spark can ignite violence, leading to a chain reaction that spreads beyond one city or country. Matthew 24:6 comes up like an old warning, laying out history's repeating cycle. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet. These words don't describe just one event. They point to a long stretch of unease, where people get used to conflict and see chaos as something inevitable. As violence spreads, the lines between nations and politics get carved deeper, turning differences into confrontations. Matthew 24:7 keeps shining a light on today's reality. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Those lines hold up a mirror to our time, where divisions aren't just hidden risks anymore, but have become the driving force behind actions. Many skeptics think this is just a regional political incident, but if we only look at the surface, how do we explain the unrest echoing across continents? The flames in Kashan aren't simply rebellion, they're like a spark that could ignite bigger clashes, where local conflicts easily get pulled into a global orbit. Riot fires have burned bright in the heart of the city, leaving behind ashes of old trust and order. But alongside that, there's still this lingering question without an answer. When chaos rises high, is there anything strong enough to stop the world from sliding deeper into a spiral of confrontation? Or are more flames waiting to flare up next? 5. The Flame of Faith, Ethiopia's Festival of Candles. Amid all the rushed news about fires, riots, and things falling apart, there are still these quiet, slow moments, like a held breath in the middle of a storm. Somewhere in the world, as night falls, little candles get lit. No big noise, no show-off, just enough to remind us that hope hasn't gone away. At Meskel Square, in the heart of Addis Ababa, millions of Ethiopian Orthodox believers gather quietly in a solemn atmosphere. The huge square slowly fills with the white of ceremonial robes. Candles are passed hand to hand and lit with reverence. That light isn't blazing like a fire of judgment. It spreads steadily, creating a gentle sea of brightness in the darkness covering the world. John 1-5 is whispered in ancient hymns, like a soft explanation for this moment. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The verse isn't about loud confrontation. It highlights the quiet power of light that stays present even when darkness seems to have won. Reports say Meskel Square can hold hundreds of thousands of people for the same ritual, making it one of the biggest gatherings of faith in Africa. Voices rise together in song. The candle flames flicker in the eyes of old folks, children, and families standing close. No panic, no shouting, just a sacred feeling all around, as if time has stopped for a while. Psalm 119-105 comes to mind as a key to understanding this flame. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. Here, fire doesn't destroy or burn things down. It guides the way. It's there to keep souls on track in a world full of unrest and division. While in many places fire means judgment and collapse, in Ethiopia, these candle lights stand for protection. They show that faith doesn't have to shout to survive. It holds steady even when everything around is shaking. God isn't absent in the chaos. He's very close, in every prayer and every candle held carefully. That light is still burning, quietly but strongly, reminding us that not every flame brings destruction. Yet as these small lights try to hold back the dark, a question hangs in the air. Will this gentle glow be strong enough to stand when other fires, fiercer and more ambitious, are quietly closing in. 6. The flames of war. Ukraine attacks Belgorod. The first hours of the news were filled with quick breaths and a sense of tension spreading fast. Reports from the Russia-Ukraine border area came pouring in, making us feel like if we blinked, the whole situation might change completely. Belgorod, a city right on the northern border with Ukraine, has long been seen as a sensitive military zone with many key supply bases. That night, many reports confirmed drones had struck the Oskol-Neftisnab oil depot, an important link in the fuel supply chain. The attack caused the storage tanks to catch fire fiercely, with flames shooting straight up into the sky and thick black smoke covering the whole nearby area. Details gathered from international news sites showed the flames at the scene rising hundreds of feet high, forcing local authorities to quickly set up a safety perimeter and carry out emergency evacuations. Early reports said many civilian buildings around were affected by the heat and toxic smoke, while firefighters worked through the night to keep the blaze from spreading to nearby fuel tanks. Matthew 24:6 comes to mind here as a strong reminder. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. The Bible verse doesn't describe one particular battle, but points out how conflicts keep repeating like a chain with no end in sight. After the incident, reactions from around the world came quickly. Many countries expressed deep concern about the risk of escalation, especially since Belgorod is seen as a red line in the region's security setup. Analysts warned that strikes on energy infrastructure could lead to stronger counterattacks, raising the chance of a fight that goes beyond just the two sides. Matthew 24:7 goes on to paint a bigger picture. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. This Bible verse is seen as a warning that conflicts don't stand alone. They tend to spread, overlap, and bring consequences that are hard to control. Online, arguments flared up almost at the same time as the fire in real life. Some people showed support for Ukraine, seeing it as a response in a long, drawn-out war. On the other side, many criticized it sharply, saying attacks deep into Russian territory could push the world closer to full-scale confrontation. The two sides clashed hard, showing how divided global opinions have become. The fire in Belgorod was eventually brought under control, but its effects still linger in the news and diplomatic talks. War keeps being seen as a dangerous stepping stone, where humanity pulls itself closer to the edge of destruction. And as the black smoke hasn't fully cleared from the skies over Eastern Europe, another sign, not from the battlefield but from above, seems to be quietly getting ready to appear. 7. Light from above slipping through the layers of clouds, warming humanity. There are moments that happen so quietly, the very silence itself sparks curiosity. On a flight cutting through thick clouds, the familiar sky view suddenly breaks with a soft golden beam. Not blinding, but enough to make anyone looking stop and wonder what they're seeing. The video, shot from a passenger seat, shows that light filtering through each layer of cloud, spreading gently like a warm touch. It's not dazzling like the northern lights, nor sharp and cold like lightning, but calm, enveloping, and protective. In that instant, you can feel a rare peace amid a world constantly shaken by bad news. That warmth leads many to think of it as a sacred sign, as if something is quietly reassuring people they're not alone. The light isn't coming from the ground or clearly from the plane systems. It's hanging high in the sky, close enough to see, but too far to touch. Genesis 1-3 comes up in discussions as a first explanation. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This Bible verse isn't just about the beginning. It stresses that light always comes before order, paving the way for life and hope, even when everything is still chaotic. Some say it's just a rare optical effect, sunlight bending through ice crystals in the clouds. Others believe it's a gifted moment, divine light appearing right when people are most weary. Acts 9-3 gets mentioned too, as another piece. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. In the Bible, light isn't just for seeing, it's for awakening. On social media, debates spread fast. Some agree with the faith-based view, seeing it as comfort amid disasters and conflicts. Others push back, saying, attaching holy meaning to something unproven is too emotional. Between those sides, plenty of folks quietly look for a balanced answer, one that respects science without denying spiritual depth. What side do you lean toward? No matter what it's called, that light leaves a lasting echo. It reminds us that in the thick darkness of worry and division, gentle moments still appear, like a whisper that protection hasn't left the world. But as the light fades into the white clouds, another question quietly rises. If darkness from people themselves grows stronger, will those beams still be enough to light the way ahead? 8. The flames of judgment. America sinks into a sea of fire. The news feels cold and distant. But underneath that calm surface, there's a chaos that's hard to hide. When the decision came out, you could sense a quiet but heavy turning point, like the gears of the world's order had just slipped out of place. The choice to pull out of international climate cooperation came right as the Earth keeps hitting new heat records, stronger storms, and longer wildfires. Groups like the IPCC, UNFCCC, and IRENA, places that gather scientific data, coordinate promises, and help vulnerable communities, now face a big gap from one of the world's top emitting economies. Mainstream reports say this move disrupts emissions monitoring programs, cuts back funds for helping poor areas adapt to climate change, and makes global reduction goals harder to reach. Analysts point out that the U.S. is among the countries putting out billions of tons of CO2 each year, so any pullback creates a ripple effect across the whole system. Revelation 11:18 comes up as a strong warning for our time. The nations raged and destroy those who destroy the earth. These Bible words aren't just about anger. They make clear people's responsibility for the home they're living in. On the other side, supporters of the decision say it's about protecting national interests, easing economic burdens, and avoiding commitments seen as unfair. They argue that homegrown technology and free markets will adjust better than international deals. But critics warn that stepping away from agreed-upon science will cost more in the long run. Mainstream reports note that many longtime allies have expressed deep concern, saying this withdrawal weakens trust and makes joint efforts more fragile. International environmental groups keep sending warnings about rising risks of disasters, loss of biodiversity, and social unrest if climate change isn't controlled. 2 Peter 3:10 paints that picture with harsh words. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The earth and everything done in it will be laid bare. The fire in these Bible verses isn't just an end-time image. It's a reminder of the inevitable results when people ignore the limits of creation. In online forums, the arguments rage on without stopping. Some see this as a practical choice, others as a moral step backward, showing deep divisions in how people view global responsibility. The opposing views clash hard, but neither side has a convincing answer for our shared future yet. The decision is signed, and the world has to adjust to a new reality full of uncertainty. As those commitments get pulled away, the pressure on the earth grows heavier, like a door slowly closing. And while visible fires still burn on the surface, another danger, smoldering deep underground, seems to be waiting for its moment to erupt. 9. The ground is cracked open, with hot lava flowing deep below, sending up thick smoke. A heavy silence hangs over Centralia, unlike any town that ever existed. No footsteps, no lights in the windows, just empty roads under a gray sky. The surface looks calm, but the thick feeling in the air tells you something is quietly burning underneath. Long cracks, hundreds of feet long, tear through the old pavement, and gray-white smoke keeps rising from them like the earth's own breath. The heat makes the air shimmer a little, giving the place a creepy, dark, and scary feeling, like it doesn't belong to the normal world anymore. If you stand there too long, a worry about a fragile future creeps in without any words needed. Technical reports say the temperature underground can reach thousands of degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to destroy the rock layers and force everyone to leave their homes. Geologists believe it started with a coal fire back in the 60s, when flames spread through deep coal seams and turned into a disaster almost impossible to stop. To them, it's just a long industrial accident, nothing supernatural. But that very length of time makes many people uneasy. A fire that doesn't roar or explode, yet keeps burning for decades no matter what anyone tries. Could that really be just chance? Revelation 20:14 speaks of the final judgment. Death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. That image of a fire that never goes out makes Centralia hard to ignore. When science gives its explanation, Other questions come up. Why does the fire keep going, slow and unstoppable, as if it's beyond human control? Matthew 13:42 says, "They will throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Those words sound like a final sentence, not explaining the cause, but pointing to the outcome. Centralia stands there as a cold reminder that some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. The fire still burns underground, the town stays abandoned, and one question hangs in the air. When the consequences have already started, where will we find our last safe place? 10. Angel wings spread wide across the sky. It didn't come with noise or bright flashes, just quiet and gentle, like a fresh breath of air in a tired world. The early morning light gave everything a clean, pure feeling that made people slow down for a moment. When you looked up at the blue sky reflecting off those tall glass buildings, a sense of peace slipped in before you even had time to think. Right in the middle of the modern city, one glass building suddenly caught everyone's eye. The sunlight hit the clear windows, bouncing and bending in ways no one expected, creating something magical. Against the clear sky, two bright white shapes spread out evenly, looking just like huge wings opening up to cover what was below. That moment didn't last long, but it was enough to plant a deep, holy feeling in people's hearts, something hard to put into words. The air felt cleaner, the usual noise faded away, and all that was left was quiet respect. Many folks stood there a good while, not trying to figure it out, just letting the meaning sink in. Psalm 91:11 came to mind like a light shining through. "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." Those pure white wings, showing up right when things felt unsteady, made that Bible verse ring louder and clearer than ever, reminding us of the protection given to those who stay awake in faith. Some said it was just a rare optical illusion caused by light and modern architecture. That explanation makes sense, but it still left something missing in how people felt. In these unsettled times, why did it appear so perfectly beautiful, like a sign of comfort rather than pure chance? Exodus 25:20 brings back the picture of protection. The cherubim are to have their wings spread upward, overshadowing the cover with them. The cherubim are to face each other. Those wings in the sky seem to echo that old image, showing that divine protection isn't just something from long ago. It still shows up in ways we can't always predict. That sight became a gentle reminder that protection is still here for anyone holding on to faith through the chaos. Not with overwhelming power, but with light, purity, and kindness. We're reminded there's still a way back, still a safe place for the soul. As the wings slowly faded in the sunlight, a quiet question lingered. Will we listen and turn things around before the final challenges come? In that moment, a soft but clear call came through. Take time to pray. Let faith light the way, and let our hearts be guided through the days ahead. The 10 signs have come together like cold chains, tightly linking human history, from the trumpet sounding in a restless sky to the white wings quietly opening high above. Each image doesn't stand alone. They connect into a clear flow, gently leading people's minds toward the final doorway. When linked together, they all reflect the same core meaning. What was written long ago in the Bible is now unfolding step by step. The rhythm of these signs doesn't allow indifference to linger. Fires flare up, the earth cracks open, the heavens send signals, and space seems to close in around each person's choice. This is the moment when words stop just describing and become urgent calls. Wake up from your sleep, pray in quiet, turn back before chaos swallows everything familiar. This chain of events doesn't just stir fear, it forces us to face a crossroads we can't avoid. One side is the burning fire of rejection and pride. The other is the guiding light of faith and obedience. Each sign is like a quiet but pressing question, putting the choice before humanity that no one can make for another. Revelation 22:20 is brought back as a final anchor of hope in the midst of the tension. He who testifies to these things says, "Yes, I am coming soon. Amen. Come, Lord Jesus." That short Bible verse doesn't plant despair. It opens a promise of His presence, reminding us that the end isn't only judgment, it's also a meeting for hearts that are waiting. Looking back at the whole journey of the 10 signs, a sense of calm slowly replaces the initial overwhelm. The trumpets have sounded, the fires have burned. These images are no longer distant stories but direct invitations. What will you do before the day of judgment? when there's no more room for delay. In these thoughts, feel free to leave a prayer or a sincere reflection in the comments below as a way to share your own faith and awareness. We're also invited to spread this message by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel so we don't miss any reminders for this important time. Thank you to everyone who's listened all the way to this point, and may you and your family be kept in peace and protected through the changes that are happening and still to come.
And warned Mexico to get its act
of the drugs coming in by water.
As a farmland and national.
Do you feel something slipping out of control? Or do you still believe everything will somehow work itself out? Early 2026 didn't open with hope. It opened with chaos. Storm after storm. Wildfires swallowing forests. Oceans roaring and pulling people under. Strange colors in the sky. And human power crashing together like red-hot sheets of steel. Time feels shorter. The future looks blurrier. And any sense of safety is being torn apart, piece by piece. 10 events coming one right after another. Not random, not separate, but linked like urgent warning beats. From earthquakes and skies turning strange to tension spreading across borders, they all come together into one cold message. This isn't just chance anymore. It's a serious reminder being sent down because humanity has gone too far. Before we go deeper and start pulling back the curtains of truth, please don't forget to leave a prayer in the comments to show your faith before God, okay? And now we won't have to wait long. Let's just go straight to it. 1. Strange tornado in Wellfleet, Nebraska, like a rope coming down from the sky. A huge rope suddenly drops straight from the sky to the ground, twisting the air tight and tearing the horizon apart. And you're seeing it in the raw video. No edits yet. No music, no voiceover, just the wind howling and that cold chill running down your spine as the sky seems to press right down. That moment won't let you look away because what you're seeing is so direct, so real, like nature just pulled back the curtain to show its raw power. Wellfleet, Nebraska sits right in the middle of the huge sandhills, where sand stretches for thousands of square miles, and hot and cold air keep crashing into each other. This area is used to supercells, where winds can go over 200 miles an hour, knocking down trees and ripping power lines apart in just minutes. But this time, what shows up in the video doesn't look like a regular tornado. It forms slowly, stretching down from the clouds to the ground like a dark rope, hanging there for a bit before suddenly tightening its grip on the land below. As the clip goes on, the tornado screeches like metal being bent, picks up dry sand, turns it to mud, and throws it high into the air. For a second, it weakens, almost falls apart, then, just a few seconds later, it comes roaring back, stronger and sharper, like something gave it new life. The person filming is only a few yards from the core, close enough to hear that piercing hiss and the hailstones banging around everywhere. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." And this picture puts a heavy period right there on that verse. From another angle, the tornado's shape is clear, a long cone like a giant trumpet pointed straight down at the plains. It even splits into twin funnels for a moment before coming back together. Storm chasers have noted these rare landspout twins, making the whole scene look like the sky is sending some kind of signal in its own way. Matthew 24:7 talks about earthquakes and upheavals in various places, and here, that line between earth and sky doesn't seem so clear anymore. Of course, some folks say this is just the usual extreme Midwest weather, a chain of physics that meteorology can explain. But the video shows what makes a lot of people pause. The strange way the tornado comes back to life, dies down, then flares up again, against what you'd normally expect. Revelation 16:18 talks about shakes like nothing seen since people have been on the earth. And this image plants a feeling in your mind that's really hard to shake off. If one rope has been let down from the sky in Nebraska, bringing fear and a heavy silence with it, what happens when more ropes start showing up in other places around the world? 2. Trump warns Mexico. World tension rises. One comment from Donald Trump suddenly put the over 1,900-mile US-Mexico border right in the center of global attention. No troops are moving, no bombs are falling. But that single message was enough to make markets react. Capitals watch closely, and you can feel the heavy mood in every new headline that keeps coming. This warning comes at a time when the southern U.S. border is already stretched tight. The whole stretch from Texas to California has long been controlled by cartels that act more and more like paramilitary forces. They run territory, smuggling routes, and huge amounts of money. Recent reports on social media and news sites say these groups are now using scout drones, even ones carrying explosives, making the security problem go way beyond regular law enforcement. In a public interview that was broadcast openly, Trump mentioned the possibility of direct strikes inside Mexico as a tough way to stop the drugs. He didn't say it like a declaration of war, but the words were clear enough to start a chain reaction. Mexico stayed quiet. Diplomats are carefully weighing every statement. And analysts are warning that even a small misstep could shake the whole region. Matthew 24:6 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place," reminding us that sometimes just the rumors themselves are enough to plant seeds of fear. As the news spread, people online quickly split into two sides. Some strongly support the tough approach, saying only military pressure can break the cross-border crime networks. Others worry the consequences could get out of control, warning that any action might lead to regional conflict and worldwide effects. In the middle of all this argument, one shared fear stands out clearly: how fragile peace really is when big decisions sit on the table of power. Deeper reports take the story beyond just the two countries. They point to international powers influencing food supply chains, farming technology, and water resources, turning this border into one small piece of a much bigger global power picture. Luke 21:25 talks about turmoil that makes nations distressed, and today's situation gives those words extra weight. When a warning comes from the center of power, it's rarely just words. If this hotspot really gets triggered, could it be the sign of a larger chain of clashes waiting ahead, reaching far beyond the U.S. Mexico line and spreading across the world? 3. The penitential procession in the Philippines. In the middle of all the non-stop news about wars, natural disasters, and uncertainty, there are quiet moments that just make you slow down and feel something. Not explosions, not political warnings, just the sight of people walking silently in prayer. In a far corner of Asia, right in the middle of busy everyday life, something gentle is happening. It's like a reminder that faith is still here, steady and unbroken. In Cebu City, Philippines, where the Catholic faith has been part of life for hundreds of years, Fiesta Señor has come again. From Fuente Osmeña Circle to the Basilica Minore del Sto, Niño, long lines of people stretch on and on. No banners, no slogans, just bare feet walking. The statue of the child Jesus carried with care, and soft prayers mixing with the sound of church bells. In a world that's changing so fast, this scene stands out strongly, like a peaceful oasis in the middle of chaos. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." That big, shared silence makes those words feel alive and real. This penitential procession isn't some kind of show. It's a journey of the heart. More than 240,000 people walk together, carrying their sorrow for sin, their hope, and their wish to start fresh. When the statue of Jesus is carried through those familiar streets, it almost feels like he's walking among us, touching the real, everyday lives of ordinary people. Do you see it? In that moment, faith stops being just an idea. It becomes something you can actually see and feel with your eyes and your heartbeat. Among the huge crowd, a holy feeling covers the whole city. Prayers rise up alongside the noise of traffic, creating this strange, beautiful mix of the sacred and the everyday. Acts 2:17 talks about God pouring out His Spirit on all people, and right here, those words don't feel like ancient history anymore. They're happening now, under this Asian sky full of wind and light. The event opens up something deeper too. When the gospel is shared not just with words, but through the living faith of so many people together, it becomes a powerful witness in these troubled times. Matthew 24:14 says, "This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations." This procession feels like a quiet, steady flame, burning strong even against the fierce winds of the world. If, in all this global chaos, faith is still strong enough to bring hundreds of thousands of people together in repentance and prayer, what might be getting ready to happen next? And if he is present, quietly but clearly, is it just a gentle reminder or a sign that something much bigger is coming soon? 4. Discovery of a 1,700-year-old Bible scroll. In the middle of our fast-moving digital age, there are moments that make us slow down, not because of some loud alarm, but because of a quiet discovery that carries a sense of the sacred. Out of the dust and ashes of history, an ancient witness suddenly steps into the light, as if time itself has just opened a door that's been sealed for centuries. In En-Gedi, Israel, a place where ancient Jewish communities once lived, a scroll of the Bible, covered in sand and dirt, was brought back to the research table. Using a technology called virtually unwrapped, scientists could read the text without even touching it. Some well-known websites reported that the words came through surprisingly clear. Even though the surface was badly damaged, the text from the book of Leviticus stayed completely intact, giving off a deep sense of reverence that's hard to put into words. This scroll is estimated to be about 1,700 years old. It was buried and forgotten since the 1,970 seconds, but only recently has it been fully read and understood. What amazed scholars wasn't just how accurate the text was, but how closely it matched the Bible we have today. Matthew 24-35 says, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." This discovery makes those words feel like a timeless testimony. In a world where everything seems to have an expiration date, this ancient Bible scroll stands as a symbol of faith that never wears out. The letters are still there. The meaning is still there, despite fire, ash, and thousands of years. Isaiah 40:8 says, "The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God stands forever." The very existence of this scroll makes that prophecy feel real and alive. But what stops many people in their tracks isn't only the archaeological value. Why is something this precious being read and revealed right now, when the world is full of unrest, wars, and a crisis of faith? Have you ever wondered, is this just a lucky find by science? Or could it be a message arranged so we remember the foundation that once guided us? Psalm 119-89 declares, "Your word, Lord, is eternal. It stands firm in the heavens." It feels like an explanation for this very moment. While every human system shakes, God's word stays steady. It doesn't need to argue or be defended. The En-Gedi discovery doesn't speak out loud, but its silence carries the weight of truth. If God's word can survive fire and time to come back at such a key moment in history, what might be waiting ahead? And are these ancient pages only reminding us of the past, or quietly opening a door to things still waiting to be revealed? 5. Wildfires in Chubut, Argentina, everything swallowed by ash and a sea of flames. The fire started without warning, so fierce that the Patagonia sky turned a thick, deep orange. Right then, we realized this wasn't just another regular disaster report. From the very first pictures, the flames rolled across the forests and mountains like a living wave, forcing us to face a chilling question: how safe are we really at the end of the day? In Chubut province, near Puerto Patriada, huge stretches of forest, tens of thousands of acres, had dried out after months of intense heat. They became perfect fuel. Strong winds blowing along the Andes made the fire race forward at a terrifying speed, jumping over natural barriers that people used to think were safe. Many news channels reported that the flames came right up to Ruta Nacional 40, forcing officials to evacuate about 3,000 people quickly, while thick smoke blocked visibility for miles. The fire didn't just destroy trees, it left behind a burned-out landscape. Ash-covered homes, fields, and roads. Areas of Chubut that used to be so green are now gray, scorched ground stretching into Neuquén and Santa Cruz after one of the worst fire seasons on record. Luke 21:11 warned, "There will be great famines and plagues in many places, and terrifying signs and great wonders from heaven." Seeing the fire rise from the earth like that makes those words echo through the smoke. Early reports raised questions about whether people started the fire, but in all the chaos, the exact cause almost feels less important than the destruction it caused. As whole sections of forest collapse into flames, it feels like nature itself is being put on trial without words. Revelation 8-7 says, "The first angel sounded, and hail and fire mixed with blood fell to the earth, and a third of the earth was burned up." Those ancient words suddenly feel frightening, when you look at the images coming out of Patagonia. What gives so many people chills is how familiar this pattern has become. Drought, high winds, fire exploding, mass evacuations. Matthew 24:7 said, "Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom." There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. It reads like a cold list of the non-stop troubles in these end times. The fire in Chubut didn't just burn trees, it burned away the idea that humans can control everything. It's a serious warning, with the flames acting like a tool of cleansing and reminder. And if wildfires like this keep spreading wider, what will the big picture look like when the line between natural disaster and judgment gets harder and harder to see? 6. 3 or 4 tornadoes formed at the same time, like trumpet horns. The sky suddenly dropped right in front of you, huge and heavy enough to take your breath away, as those black cloud columns twisted like an invisible hand was wringing them tight. That moment hit you with a mix of awe and fear, like nature had just torn open the peaceful curtain we're all used to. We stood there watching a sight that makes your heart pound when the whole horizon wasn't calm anymore. It was shaking like it might break apart. From that giant cloud, 3, then 4 tornadoes spun up almost at once, dropping down onto the green plains fields. The funnels swirled together, pulling dust and debris way up high, looking like giant organ pipes shooting straight down from heaven. In the video footage, you can really feel how small and fragile we are facing that kind of unstoppable force. Meteorologists call this a rare multi-vortex setup, several smaller spins turning inside one main core, which makes the damage even worse. Winds in these things can top 200 miles an hour, strong enough to yank big trees out by the roots and tear buildings apart in just minutes. Warnings kept coming one after another, pointing out that weather is getting tougher to predict as tornado conditions stack up faster and stranger than before. With the wind screaming and the ground shaking, that scene brings to mind Revelation 8-6, and the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound, like the sky was getting ready to blow a signal that's been warned about for a long time. It's not a final answer, just a cold little hint that sets up the feeling these movements up above aren't only about physics. Experts keep saying we're in a new era of extreme weather, where big tornado outbreaks come in bunches instead of one by one. There's more energy in the atmosphere now, so storms organize easier, and when they hit, the destruction often goes way beyond what we used to see as normal. Then 1 Thessalonians 4:16 adds another layer. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God. And those words make those spinning funnels feel far from empty. As the tornadoes finally faded away, the ground was left with long, ugly scars, and the sky went quiet in a nervous kind of way. Matthew 24:31 says, "He will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, like a picture of gathering people together, calling them in, waking them up." What just happened doesn't explain everything, but it sure leaves you feeling like a signal just went out. If 3 or 4 trumpets can sound all at once in one spot, what's going to happen when other skies start answering back? 7. Pink sky and snow in Birmingham, UK. Birmingham slipped into night like any other evening, but the sky above the city turned a strange shade of pink, coloring everything and leaving folks with an odd, uneasy feeling. The light wasn't bright and flashy like usual. It was soft, quiet, almost like a curtain slowly coming down. In that moment, the familiar modern city suddenly felt far away and strange. This happened in the West Midlands, when Storm Goretti brought rare heavy snow that blanketed Birmingham in white. Some popular websites explained that the city's LED lights reflected off the low clouds, creating this neon pink glow that covered the whole sky. The thick falling snow made the pink spread even more, turning the streets into a scene that was stunningly beautiful and a little unsettling at the same time. Instead of the usual deep black of a winter night, the sky looked like something from a dream, unreal, with snow drifting down quietly through that unnatural pink. Videos going around showed the whole city bathed in this weird light, making people wonder if it was just a trick of the eye or something more. Right after the pictures spread, folks online started arguing a lot. Some said it was just light pollution mixing with rare weather, something physics can easily explain. Others saw the pink as a strange sign, especially with snow and light appearing right when the world feels so unsettled, and the timing made them nervous. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Reading that next to Birmingham's sky, the pink isn't just a color anymore. It feels like something to think about. It doesn't force a meaning, but it opens up different ways to see it. Joel 2:30 talks about, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke," like an old explanation for strange things happening up high. Acts 2:19 goes on, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below," so that pink sky starts looking like a message with layers of meaning depending on how people take it. Even if science can explain how the light worked, that uneasy feeling doesn't just go away. The sky changed color right in front of millions of people, and it made us look up longer than we usually do. If more strange colors keep showing up in skies around the world, is it just random lights from below, or the start of something bigger waiting ahead? 8. Strange object hovering in the Australian sky. Australia's sky, usually full of sudden sun and wind, suddenly had this dark patch just hanging there. It wasn't moving much, didn't glow, and didn't fade away like regular clouds do. The shape felt kind of mysterious and made people wonder, like something was just stuck up there in the middle of the air. When you watch the video, it's hard not to feel like you're seeing something no one has really named before. People spotted this thing in different parts of the Australian sky, especially in Queensland and New South Wales, places that have had UFO or UAP reports in the past. Some folks compared it to the trail from a rocket, but the big difference is this one's deep black and just stays still, not moving or changing. In the video that's going around, the object looks like a half-dissolved cloud with fuzzy edges, really dark against the white clouds behind it. It doesn't fall, doesn't drift fast with the wind, and makes no sound or give off any special light. We're looking at something that's tough to explain, where normal everyday logic kind of stops working. Some people think it's just a rare weather thing, maybe tied to unusual humidity or air pressure. Others connect it to UAP sightings in Midwest Western Australia, where strange objects had that same blurry shape, slow movement, and no clear man-made signs. The real tension isn't in picking one answer. It's that none of the usual explanations quite convince everybody. Luke 21:11 once said, "There will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven." Those words open the door to the idea that the sky isn't always just a quiet backdrop. When you put this sighting next to that verse, the unclear feeling becomes more like a hint than a firm statement. It doesn't say exactly what's coming, but it reminds us that strange signs can show up out of nowhere. Matthew 24:29 goes on, "The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken." Even though this object isn't a star or the sun, its odd presence still makes the sky feel disturbed, like the usual order is being gently but noticeably shaken. Ezekiel 1-4 describes, "I looked, and there before me was a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light." It's an old picture of something coming from above that people can only watch, not control. The thing over Australia doesn't match perfectly, but it brings up a similar feeling, a sign that hasn't been given a name yet. This event doesn't come with a final answer. It just leaves a heavy quiet in our minds. As more of these objects show up, the question isn't really what they are anymore. It's why the sky keeps sending down images that make us look up and wonder about ourselves. If this is just the beginning, how far beyond our ability to name them will the next strange signs go? 9. The waves out at sea are getting bigger and stranger, crashing onto the land and sweeping that girl away. As the afternoon light slowly faded along the horizon, the ocean suddenly changed color, like it took one long, deep breath before unleashing something terrible. The roar hit you right in the chest, the wind howled, and in just a second, that safe feeling we're all used to was gone. No warning, no siren, just a cold fear rushing through every breath. Security cameras caught that moment on an Arabian beach, where this freak wave rose way higher than the water around it. It didn't roll in like a normal tide. It shot straight up, stood tall, then slammed down like an invisible punch. A girl standing too close to the edge got snatched away. Her small body rocked back and forth in the white foam, her cries swallowed up by the roaring sea. The next frame turns chaotic. Swirling water stretches out dozens of feet, sand and rocks lifted like they weigh nothing. People nearby just freeze. No one has time to react. You see it, don't you? One wrong step, one bad spot, and the line between standing safe and disappearing completely is so thin that helpless feeling spreads fast. Because against that kind of power, everything we plan or think just feels tiny. Experts later explained that these extra high waves aren't rare anymore. Warmer oceans, changing air pressure, shifts in the seafloor, they all trap wave energy, then release it suddenly. The numbers show extreme waves are happening more often in recent years, almost like the sea is building up something it hasn't let out yet. Luke 21:25 described it so clearly. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Reading those words now, the ocean isn't just scenery anymore. It becomes a voice asking hard questions, showing how fragile the order we thought we controlled really is. These waves don't just hit the shore, they hit our shared sense of safety. Psalm 93:4 keeps ringing out like a reminder. Mightier than the thunder of the great waters, mightier than the breakers of the sea. The Lord on high is mighty. The wild power of the water is put side by side with God's ultimate authority, as if to say, there are limits we can't cross. When the sea gets angry, it's not just an accident. It's a revealing of a shaken moral order. And then, Revelation 21:1 opens a sobering picture. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. If the sea, the symbol of chaos, can one day be gone, maybe today's waves are just warning signs. When one wave can sweep a life away in a heartbeat, the question still hangs there. What happens if the whole world stands in front of that rising water? 10. Strange object floating above the clouds. Up there in that quiet height, with the engines humming steady, one sight suddenly makes your heart slow down. Right outside the window, something not part of the usual sky is drifting along beside the plane. Pure white, so bright it almost makes the light feel shy. Have you ever wondered why sometimes just one image can make your heart feel heavy, like a very old memory just brushed against you? From the cabin of a regular flight, the object becomes clearer as the clouds part. It stands straight up, long and slender, like an upside-down candle. No flashing, no color change, just holding the same steady distance from the plane. For those few seconds that feel like forever, a wave of nostalgia rises up, as if you're seeing something you once heard about long ago, now suddenly back again. Lots of folks are quick to put a name on it: weather balloon, shadow, optical illusion, or some light streak in thick clouds. But this thing isn't drifting free. It moves at the same speed, same direction, almost like it's traveling with us on purpose. Try putting yourself in that moment and see how thin all the explanations feel when you're touched by something holy you can't quite name. Luke 21:27 once recorded an image that has made generations stop and think. Then people will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with great power and glory. Reading that verse again with wide open sky and clouds all around, the picture doesn't stay on the page anymore. It steps out of our shared memory and hangs right there in front of your eyes. Daniel 7:13 carries the vision further with these ancient words. In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. The clouds are no longer just weather, they become the stage for the final things, where the line between this world and eternity starts to fade. And then, Revelation 1-7 closes it with a statement you can't avoid. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. And all the peoples of the earth will mourn because of him. When those words ring out, all the doubt slowly quiets down, making room for a straight, honest facing of something no one can turn away from. People may keep arguing, keep trying to name the sighting with safe, familiar terms, but sometimes what matters isn't what it is, it's what it wakes up inside your heart. If that image makes you slow down, makes you think more about faith and about coming home, then maybe it has already done its deepest work. Before you leave this moment, please leave a short prayer in the comments below. Nothing fancy, just honest and real. Because who knows, maybe that quiet and those simple whispered words are the clearest way to answer the last sign the sky has just opened up to show us. Here are 10 signs that have passed. like 10 deep drum beats echoing across the same sky. From fierce acts of nature, skies changing color, strange objects appearing, to oceans raging and the heavens torn open by images hard to name, none of these stand alone. When you step back and look at the whole picture, those pieces slowly come together into one clear message. Heaven, earth, and mankind are all being shaken at this very special moment in time. When you place this chain of events alongside the big picture in the Bible, their meaning becomes very clear. Matthew 24:6-8 warned us plainly, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. All these are the beginning of birth pains." What we've seen isn't the final climax. It's more like alarm bells ringing again and again, urging all of us to stop and think about where we stand before our Creator. These signs are becoming more and more open. They're no longer hidden in dark corners or passed around in whispers. Luke 21:28 puts it straight. When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. The way these unusual events keep coming faster and stronger tells us the warning is no longer far off in the future. It's knocking at the door every single day. In light of all this, what really matters isn't arguing about what's right or wrong. It's the condition of our hearts. You might want to quietly ask yourself, where do I stand as these signs keep coming one after another? Acts 3:19 gently reminds us, "Repent then, and turn to God, so that your sins may be wiped out." Waking up, turning back, and holding fast to faith isn't about being afraid. It's the wise choice of someone who understands what lasts forever. In this quiet moment, I invite you to leave a short prayer or a sincere thought from your heart in the comments below. James 5:16 tells us, "The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective." Even one simple sentence can be a real sign of coming back and joining together in faith. If these words touch you, please like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next reminder. Hebrews 10:25 encourages us, encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Sharing isn't meant to scare anyone. It's to help more people wake up. Finally, thank you so much for staying with me to the very last line. May the blessing of Numbers 6:24-26 rest on you and your family. The Lord bless you and keep you and give you peace. May we all be held safe in the loving arms of God. Amen.
The sky seems to be trying to tell us something when these strange signs keep showing up one after another, coming so fast that humanity doesn't even have time to look away anymore. Lights tear through black clouds, giant shapes shoot silently across the sky, and darkness moves in places where there should only be stars. Everything is happening too quick, too real, as if time itself is being shortened with every breath. From metal objects going straight through mountains, shadowy figures lingering in the night, people-like forms flying against the wind, to sky dragons appearing in the middle of storms, beams of light shooting straight up into the clouds, fake heavenly bodies, groups of orbs coming down, clouds forming strange shapes, and winged lights descending. These 10 phenomena aren't standing alone. They're linking together into one heavy chain, echoing warnings that were written down a very long time ago. The Bible talked about signs in the sky before the last days, and now the question isn't whether they exist or not. The real question is, what are we going to do when the sky finally starts to speak? We're seeing it, but are we ready to listen? Or are we still going to turn our faces away while time refuses to stand still? If there's still a little faith left in your heart, feel free to leave a prayer down below, just as a quiet way of saying your soul is still awake. And the rest of the story, maybe it's waiting to unfold just ahead. Let's get started right now. 1. Mysterious metal arrowheads tear through the Alai sky. What happens when the sky stops being a quiet place and turns into a battlefield for movements beyond human understanding? That moment didn't come from movies or imagination. It showed up suddenly in a remote mountain wilderness where we always thought only wind and snow ruled. The news spread so fast it made people's breathing quicken, because one thing felt very clear: this wasn't something you could just ignore. It happened in the Alai range of Kyrgyzstan, a rugged mountain area that rises close to 18,000 feet above sea level, where hardly anyone ever sets foot. There, 3 sharp-pointed metal objects suddenly ripped across the sky, streaking over the peaks at a speed that froze every natural reflex. In that split second, the people recording the video only had time to notice the blinding reflections sweeping through the air, cold, silent, and downright eerie. The lead object had a clear arrowhead shape, roughly 100 feet long. The other 2 followed right behind in perfect formation, spaced about 50 feet apart like they were programmed that way. Their shiny metal surfaces mirrored the sunlight like glass, leaving no smoke trail, no sound, no sign of any normal engine. They were estimated to be going 500 miles an hour as they cut through the clouds, making regular ideas about aerodynamics feel meaningless. The sight forced us to admit there are things operating way outside what humans can explain. Locals who know the area immediately thought of Shaitan Mazar, a spot about 50 miles away that's had past reports of strange metal pieces collected there. This chain of events makes the whole picture feel much heavier, not just one lone flash in the sky anymore. The Bible once spoke of signs like this in Revelation 12:3. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads 7 diadems. That image echoes like a quiet suggestion, not forced, but enough to plant a seed of unease. Some skeptics say it might be a military test, but that idea falls apart fast. No radar signals, no noise, no flight path that matches any known drone or aircraft. Videos coming from several different independent angles make the "it's just an illusion" explanation hard to hold up. When you put this next to Matthew 24-30, then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. The feeling that there's a hidden message behind it all gets even stronger. Those 3 objects didn't just fly over the mountains. They tore through the fragile sense of safety people still cling to. If they show up again, is it just a random repeat, or the opening chapter of something much bigger coming from above? The answer still hangs in the air, and that very emptiness is pulling us forward into the next part of the story. 2. Strange objects like ghosts hiding in the clouds, streaking across the sky. The night in Savannah wasn't quiet like usual. There were moments that sent chills down your spine even though there wasn't any wind at all. Up in that coastal sky, a faint shadow suddenly appeared, then faded away, leaving behind this creepy feeling of being watched, with no idea why. The long silence only made the uneasiness grow stronger, as if the darkness was hiding something it didn't want named. It happened in Savannah, Georgia, about 5 miles from Hunter Army Airfield, an area that's had hundreds of reports of strange things in the sky over the years. On the same night, at the exact same spot, 2 different shapes took turns drifting around then disappearing. A lot of folks only managed to catch shaky video of it. This familiar coastal town suddenly turned into a stage for something that doesn't belong in everyday life. The first shape was hazy like mist, constantly changing form and spreading out to nearly 200 feet with no clear edges. A few hours later, another one showed up in the very same place, this time clearer, giving off a faint flashing light along with a low, steady humming sound that went on and on. No strong wind, no fog, no weird weather, yet the sky seemed to be breathing in its own rhythm, making it hard to look away from the screen. In the middle of all this, plenty of people brought up Luke 21:25. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Those words rang out like a warning, not to explain the shapes or what they really were, but to point out that feeling of chaos slowly spreading from the sky down to the ground, exactly like what Savannah is going through right now. On the forums, people online tried to look at it more neutrally. Some said it was a rare atmospheric thing. Others leaned towards secret test aircraft. A few mentioned civilian drones with signal problems. But reports from the National UFO Reporting Center in Georgia say the data doesn't match any known drones or weather events, and the sound recorded doesn't line up with any regular vehicle either. Revelation 16:13 says, "I saw 3 unclean spirits that looked like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet." This isn't describing those sky shadows directly. It's more like a warning bell that certain things keep showing up, creeping in and stirring trouble before something much bigger happens. Those 2 appearances were enough to leave a long-lasting shiver running through this small coastal city. If the sky over Savannah gets torn open by those shadowy shapes again, is it just some strange coincidence, or the opening act for a deeper darkness moving closer? The question still hangs there, and the silence afterward, that's the scariest part of all. 3. Mysterious upright dark figure tears through Monterey sky, defying gravity. A dark, human-shaped figure suddenly streaks through the Monterey Mountains, standing perfectly straight up in the air like gravity just got switched off. When the video started spreading, a lot of people had to stop for a second and wonder, what in the world just flew across the sky? It happened in Monterey, Mexico, in the Sierra Madre Oriental Mountains, about 4,000 feet high, a place long tied to old stories about brujas, the witches from local folklore. This area is only around 150 miles from the Texas border, and it's been mentioned more than once in strange reports from local police and folks living near the mountains. In the video, the dark figure looks human, roughly 10 feet tall, moving steady at about 100 miles an hour. No wings, no engine, no wires, no gear holding it up, and most striking of all, it's flying completely upright, straight up and down. Clear day, good view. The thing shows up sharp against the bright clouds, not some blurry shadow or light streak. Revelation 9:7 says, "The locusts looked like horses prepared for battle. On their heads, they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces were like human faces." When you see that next to this upright, flying, human-like figure, it's hard not to make the connection. Beings that look like people, but don't belong to the normal world we know. Lots of people ask if it could just be an optical illusion or some light playing tricks on the eyes, but the video was taken from different angles, in broad daylight, with calm weather. Independent checks done in Mexico, including files kept by the Unusual Aerial Phenomena research community, show it doesn't fit any bird, drone, or CGI trick. Isaiah 14:29 reads, "Do not rejoice, all you Philistines, that the rod that struck you is broken. From the serpent's root will come a viper, and its fruit will be a flying serpent." That flying serpent picture in the Bible has long been seen as a sign of trouble that keeps coming, when something you thought was done gives birth to a new danger you never expected. When old folklore suddenly shows up in our modern sky, the question isn't really whether to believe it anymore. It's about what is slowly being revealed. If that dark figure didn't just zip by and vanish, but actually came down somewhere in those mountains, was it only a one-time thing, or the beginning of many more shadows waiting to step out? 4. The sky over Los Angeles reveals an ancient secret, a legendary creature twisting across the clouds. That night's storm wasn't like any storm on record. Lightning ripped through the Los Angeles sky, and in the split second the flash exploded, a huge shape appeared among the swirling clouds. It had an unusually long, curving body that moved like a living thing. The whole city went dead quiet as the same question hit everyone at once. What in the world was hiding inside that storm? The sighting happened over the Los Angeles area in California, where thunderstorms come now and then but almost never get as fierce as that night. History does mention reports of sky serpents in Bonham, Texas, about 1,200 miles away, plus lots of old legends about dragons connected to storms and judgment in ancient cultures. As the lightning kept flashing, The shape became very clear. A body, maybe 300 feet long, a raised neck, skin that looked like scales catching the light, bending and moving with each thick cloud bank. This wasn't just a long cloud streak or a trick of the light. The details showed up again and again in different shots, holding the same shape for several seconds straight. Revelation 12:9 says, "The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him." Seeing a dragon appear in a stormy sky made a lot of folks think right away of the Bible's picture of dark powers. Right in the middle of the rain and thunder, an uneasy feeling spread, not just some vague fear, but because the image felt strangely familiar. If it was only clouds, why did it have such a clear, solid shape? And if it wasn't clouds, then what exactly was being shown right there, in the middle of a big modern city? Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke, lightning, black clouds," and this strange shape, all appearing together in one scene, made many people wonder what these sky signs might mean at a time like this. Online, opinions split fast. Some said it's just a rare cloud formation lit up by lightning. Others pointed back to centuries-old records of flying serpents and sky dragons. Weather experts in California say there's no way a real creature was up there. But they also admit the shape doesn't quite match normal clouds. With all these different views flying around, here's the question for anyone watching. Are you seeing a trick of nature or a message being revealed at the exact moment most people would never expect? The Bible says many times that hidden things will be shown when the right time comes. If that creature only appeared during the storm and then vanished, maybe this was just the first sign. And if the sky is still hiding even more, then the next time lightning flashes, will it only be clouds or something coming closer? 5. Dark entity drifting from Texas to Iraq, challenging every law of science. In just a short time, the same pitch-black shape appeared one after another in the sky, at places thousands of miles apart. Have you ever wondered why one nameless shadow could make the whole world hold its breath over just a few short videos? The first sightings came from the skies over Texas, then Oklahoma, and suddenly it showed up again in Baghdad and Ankara, as if distance and borders don't exist. The gaps between these locations stretch across several time zones, far beyond what any known vehicle or creature could cover. The timing lines up so closely that space itself seems to be bent, leaving behind a heavy, hard-to-explain feeling. People describe the shape as long and sinuous, about 500 feet, constantly twisting and curling like a living ribbon of shadow. Its movement doesn't follow any set path, sometimes moving painfully slow, other times speeding up out of nowhere. Nothing like a bird, drone, or airplane. The really troubling part is how consistent it is. The same shape, almost identical, appearing in completely unrelated places. Matthew 24-29 says, "Right after those terrible days, the sun will go dark, the moon won't give light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken." This black shadow hanging in the air, blocking the light, makes many people think of those heavenly signs we're told not to ignore. The uneasy feeling grows stronger because these appearances make no sound, leave no physical trace, just an empty sky after they're gone. That silence creates a deep, heavy void, as if something passed right over humanity without asking permission or giving any explanation. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." These dark shapes gliding across the sky, appearing amid natural upheavals and global unrest, make it hard for many not to wonder about the deeper meaning behind these signs. When the black shadow stops being a one-time thing and turns into a series of appearances across continents, belief in coincidence starts to crumble. This isn't just a story about something in the sky. It's a reminder that humans don't control everything happening around us. If these dark shadows don't stop, how much longer will the sky stay bright? And while we're waiting for answers, maybe the best thing we can do is quiet down, turn our hearts towards something higher. If you're feeling uneasy, leave a prayer in the comments, not to explain this phenomenon, but to help keep the light from going out inside your own mind. 6. Green light pillars shooting straight up to the sky. Sign or illusion? It all started with a question. No explosion, no wild shaking, just a blinding green beam suddenly standing straight up from the ground to the high clouds, frozen in place like a column of energy stuck in the sky. That moment made a lot of people freeze, because it felt strangely familiar, like something about this had been mentioned somewhere a long time ago. No clear source has been confirmed. Some videos show the beam appearing at night, others caught it at dusk when the clouds were low and the surrounding light was fading. That uncertainty creates a chilly feeling, as if the sky is hiding something behind its quiet clouds. The green beam is estimated to be about 1,000 feet tall, perfectly steady. No shaking, no sound, no obvious heat. It doesn't sweep or move, it just stands there like a vertical pillar, more like controlled technology than a natural event. You can imagine how it feels to see a pillar of light like that, sitting motionless for minutes in the air, with no explanation at all. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." The word pillars in the Bible makes many people connect the dots, because a green light beam standing straight in the sky looks too similar to ignore, even though what it really is remains a big question mark. Concern grew when some folks linked this to warnings in Revelation. Revelation 13:13 says, "It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. Whether a pillar of light rises from the ground to the sky or comes down from above, it carries the image of power being shown off to amaze and mislead." On the other hand, some social media experts look at it through a scientific lens. They think it could be converging light from a powerful laser, a directed energy test, or a rare reflection effect between a ground light source and low clouds. These ideas come from similar light pillars that have appeared before in San Francisco and parts of Texas. The real difference is in how people explain it. Science tries to fit the beam into a normal chain of cause and effect, while the Bible places it in the context of end-time signs and deception. With both views sitting side by side, the question isn't just what the light is, it's which explanation you choose to trust. One thing is certain, that pillar of light didn't show up just to be forgotten. It left behind an empty, uneasy feeling, like a message that hasn't been fully figured out yet. If one day this beam doesn't just stand still but actually calls down something from the heavens, will it be a technology breakthrough or the start of a worldwide illusion that humanity isn't ready to face? 7. Mysterious object shining like a star hanging in the sky. Everything looks so calm and peaceful that it almost tricks you. Up against the quiet mountain sky, there's this one bright point just sitting there, like all the other stars. No movement, no fuss, making the whole scene seem so ordinary you'd easily miss it. That normal feeling lasts just long enough that nobody suspects in a few seconds the usual order is about to get broken. When the camera zooms in, that star isn't some faraway fuzzy dot anymore. You can clearly see a metallic surface sparkling, reflecting light in hard, cold patches, very different from the soft, natural glow of real heavenly bodies. For a moment, the thing just hangs motionless in mid-air, then, poof, it disappears instantly. No streak of light, no falling path, just an empty sky and this strange, empty feeling you can't quite name. This was caught high up in the mountains, where the air is thin and you can see forever. Similar reports have come from places like Mexico, near Sierra Negra, those metallic orbs. The height and isolation make the whole thing feel even more mysterious, like the sky picks quiet, lonely spots to show something not meant for big crowds. The object was estimated to be about 50 feet across, with uneven metallic shine, bright 1 second, then dimming like it was breathing. It didn't move like anything normal, and when it vanished, it left no physical trace at all. You get this uneasy feeling when something that looks like a star in the sky turns out to have a metal structure and just wipes itself off the heavens in a blink. Luke 21:25 says it plain. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be worried and confused by the roaring of the sea and waves. Those words hit different when a star stops acting like a star. Confusion is just the natural human response to something way beyond what we understand. Matthew 24-29 warns further. Right after those days of trouble, the sun will go dark, the moon won't give light, stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. A fake star appearing, then vanishing without a trace, makes you feel like something up there is being shaken, even if just for a short moment. Some folks say it's only a lens reflection or some rare optical effect, but the instant disappearance, no gradual fading, makes that explanation pretty hard to buy. Similar reports from mountains in Bulgaria described metallic objects glowing bright, then just turning off, like they were pulled out of the sky, leaving the same big question hanging. Whatever you call it, this kind of thing doesn't show up to make us feel comfortable. It's more like a quiet but chilly reminder. Not every light in the sky is a real star. If that star comes back, will it just hang there quietly all alone? Or will it bring a whole formation hiding behind the dark? 8. Mysterious glowing orbs floating scattered across the London sky. That night, the London sky was unusually quiet. No strong wind, no sirens, just these points of light appearing far away and slowly drifting closer. The stillness could easily make you drop your guard, and right in that seemingly harmless moment, you could clearly feel a growing unease as you realized the sky was changing. From different parts of the city, dozens of glowing orbs began dropping lower, moving together in perfect sync, like a fleet programmed with precision. They didn't dive or shake, just glided smoothly through the air, then one by one disappeared, leaving a cold, empty space above. That rhythm felt cold and emotionless, as if some strange order was quietly running right over our heads. The first reports came from the Bethnal Green area, then quickly spread to nearby neighborhoods. That part of the city isn't far from Rendlesham Forest, about 80 miles away, where mysterious lights have been showing up and causing arguments for decades. The geographic connection made it hard for many people to see this as just random events. Each orb was estimated to be around 20 feet across, with steady light, no flickering, no trail behind them. They descended in a clear formation, then slowly faded out, almost like they were being called back from the sky. No sound, no shockwave, just a heavy feeling of emptiness that left many people standing there in long, stunned silence. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and clouds of smoke." This Bible verse often comes up when unexplained things appear in the sky, because it places those high-up signs in the context of a wake-up call, not something random or meaningless. Online, people quickly split into opposing opinions. Some said it was just a large drone light show. Others thought maybe a rare atmospheric event. But civilian radar reportedly picked up no matching flying objects, so the technical explanations didn't feel very convincing. With Britain's long history of sightings already so thick, the debate only grew hotter. Revelation 16:14 gives a stronger warning. They are demonic spirits that perform signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them for battle on the great day of God Almighty. When you read about these orbs in light of that verse, many people started seeing them not just as objects, but as signs of deception and an invisible gathering of power. No matter how you explain it, that synchronized descent of orbs didn't feel safe at all. It felt more like a cold announcement than any kind of show. If one day those orbs don't just vanish in the sky but actually touch the ground, will that be our first real contact? Or the beginning of something humanity has never been ready to face? 9. Mysterious signs in the sky. One ordinary afternoon in Austin, Texas, The sky suddenly showed something nobody expected. Clouds, just hanging there, perfectly still, lined up like numbers. They were so clear that the people below went completely quiet. These weren't drifting clouds. They didn't fade, didn't change shape. They just stayed frozen in place, like someone had carefully put them right where they wanted. The setting made it feel even heavier. Austin is the tech and culture heart of Texas, a place where you sometimes see rare sky things like fall streak holes or strange-shaped clouds people talk about. But this was different, way different. The cloud letters stretched almost a mile across, in American measure, super sharp, and stayed perfectly still for a long time, like a giant billboard hanging way up in the air. The mystery quickly turned into tension. No strong wind, no wild movement, just an eerie silence covering everything. The shape didn't look random at all, and it sure didn't feel like nature playing a little joke. For a moment, you can't help but wonder, if the sky can write like that, who exactly is the message for? Joel 2:31 says it plain. The sun will turn dark, and the moon will become red like blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. When strange shapes blocked the light up above, the darkness wasn't just something you saw. It sank right into your mind, like those old words were stepping off the page into real life. Weather experts tried explaining it with rare weather patterns, but even they admitted how perfectly shaped it was would be almost impossible to happen again. No big arguments, just the plain truth left behind. Nature almost never makes such clear letters across a huge, quiet space like that. Revelation 6:12 records, I watched as the Lamb opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. The clouds that covered the Austin sky that day weren't just water vapor. They felt like a dark curtain, bringing back the exact picture described thousands of years ago. The message became impossible to miss. The warning wasn't just spoken. It was placed right up in the sky, where nobody could pretend they didn't see it. When those signs appeared like a quiet countdown, the question stopped being, is this real? And turned into, how much time is left? And if that countdown reaches the end, what exactly is waiting behind that peaceful-looking sky? 10. An angel with huge wings spread wide flying across the sky. It was a holy moment that made the whole sky seem to grow quiet. From way up in the hazy air, a golden stream of light shaped like wings appeared and slowly came down. So slowly, it felt like time itself had stopped. Have you ever felt your heart just sink a little when that kind of light opens up a feeling words can't really explain? There's no fixed place to point to, just scattered reports of winged objects in the sky, seen several times in Queensland, Australia, where strange, structured glowing lights have shown up more than once. Those sightings weren't loud or showy. They quietly left a mark in the memory of the people who saw them, like a soft whisper from somewhere high above. The shape was described clearly. 2 long wings, about 100 feet across, using American measurements, spread out evenly, giving off a warm golden glow. The light didn't flash or flicker wildly. It spread out nice and steady, coming straight down, feeling very purposeful, like it was heading to a spot already chosen long ago. Isaiah 6:2 says, Above him were seraphim, each having 6 wings. With 2 they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. The picture of wings and movement in the middle of the sky doesn't feel like some vague symbol anymore. It seems to step right out of that ancient description, wearing today's light. A deep calm spread as the glowing stream kept coming lower. No loud boom, no trail of smoke, just a silent presence that made the sky feel deeper than before. People have mentioned things like glowing mist or ball lightning, but the steady path and intentional movement in the reports make those explanations feel pretty weak. Revelation 14:6 says, Then I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven, having the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. When a winged light flies in the middle of the sky, the idea of a messenger doesn't feel far away anymore. It rises up like a final announcement, spoken right through the heavens. No need to argue about it. This isn't just something you see with your eyes. That light forces people to face the possibility that the spiritual world is showing itself. Either a true angel sent here, or a dark power allowed to appear at this decisive moment. And as that glowing stream keeps coming lower, one question just hangs there between heaven and earth. If it actually touches the ground, will that moment mark the hour of judgment that was set from the very beginning? Here are 10 signs that have appeared one after another. They're not separate or random. They're connected, like links in a chain that's slowly closing into a full circle. From fire, water, darkness, and light, to quiet movements up in the sky, they all come together into one big picture. It's no longer just chance. It's a serious reminder, gently but firmly urging our souls to turn back to what really matters, the things we've forgotten. The Bible warned us very clearly in Luke 21:11. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. When you put these 10 signs side by side, the meaning isn't in any single one. It's in how fast and steady they're coming, like someone knocking harder and harder on the door in the middle of the night. There's this mixed feeling that's hard to name. Hope tangled up with a heavy warning. Hope, because signs like these always come with a call to turn back. Warning, because time doesn't wait. Joel 2:12 says, "Even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting and weeping and mourning." That call isn't for strangers far away. It reaches every heart that's still willing to listen. What I've shared here isn't meant to scare anyone. It's meant to wake us up. Being awake doesn't start with panic. It starts with turning back to God, praying, and holding tight to faith in a world that's getting more and more confusing. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world." Once we see what the real battle is, the way to stand strong starts to become clear. In this closing moment, here's a gentle but heartfelt invitation. Let's wake up together. Take time to pray. Let faith be the solid ground we stand on. If a prayer rises in your heart right now, feel free to leave it in the comments, or just share your honest thoughts. Every voice is like a small light shining in a long night. And please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel, so you won't miss any message that comes from above. That connection isn't just buttons to click, it's how we keep the flame of being awake, burning bright together. Finally, thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who's listened all the way to this point. I'm praying for you and your family, that you'll stay safe and protected from the dark forces in these times, so close to the end. And as the sky keeps changing, one question still whispers quietly, but without stopping. The sky is speaking. Are you ready to listen yet? Amen.
Guys, do you see that?
What?
Do you feel like the world is slipping off its usual track? Time feels squeezed tight, the air has gotten heavy, and the future looks more blurry and uncertain than ever. Things that used to feel solid and steady are now shaking, leaving this uneasy feeling spreading everywhere. Fires are breaking out, right in the middle of cities. The sky is cracking open, strange lights hang in the air, whirlwinds are raging, and clouds shaped like death are showing up in plain sight. 10 different signs, but they're lining up one after another, like scattered puzzle pieces, slowly revealing a much bigger picture. Can you sense that strange rhythm? None of these signs are standing alone anymore. God is warning us that we're in the final days. Humanity's time is almost up. Are you ready for what's coming? Before we dive in and pull back each curtain of truth, please leave a short prayer for peace in the comments below to show your trust in the Lord. Okay? Now, no need to keep you waiting. We're jumping right into the first event. 1. Chaos flames sweep across America. Videos spreading fast over the last few hours showed downtown areas of America swallowed by fire. Thick black smoke blocks the whole skyline. You hear non-stop shouting and sirens blaring. This isn't edited clips or some action movie scene anymore. It's happening right out in the open, in broad daylight. The normal order we're used to gets torn apart in just moments. Right now, you can really feel the unrest spreading even faster than the news itself. News reports say violent protests have broken out at the same time in several big cities. Places like Los Angeles, California, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, with thousands of people involved. In just a few nights, more than 30 stores and local buildings got set on fire. Some of the fires spread for miles, so firefighters had to block off whole neighborhoods. Officials say the property damage has already gone past hundreds of millions of dollars, and major roads are completely shut down. These pictures remind me of the warning in Matthew 24:6-7. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. When the fighting isn't coming from outside anymore, but explodes right inside our own society, that message hits like a cold reminder of how deep the cracks really are. It all started from long-running political protests aimed at groups seen as extreme. Things quickly got out of hand. Police say they've made over 500 arrests in just 1 week. Dozens of officers got hurt, and quite a few areas had to put emergency curfews in place. The fire isn't only burning concrete and steel, it's burning away the fragile sense of safety we thought we had in modern life. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." When the ground shakes from hate and violence, those signs stop feeling far away. They're showing up in everyday life, where people are turning against their own fellow human beings. Some folks say this is just the usual cycle of violence in American politics, but the numbers right now show this is much stronger and happening way more often than before. Reports say the number of fires set last month was double what it was the same time last year, and they're happening across many different states, not just one spot. The timing and the scale make the usual explanations sound pretty weak. Matthew 24:6 goes on to say, "See to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen." When this chaos fire breaks out in the heart of America, it's not just another political event. It's the first signal of something much bigger coming. And if the ground is already burning like this, who knows what the sky above is getting ready to show us next. 2. Discovery of a tear in the sky. The sky in the video doesn't show up clear right from the start. It's covered by a strange, blurry haze, almost like the camera hasn't quite focused on reality yet. The familiar blue suddenly gets cut by a straight, sharp, dark patch hanging there in the middle of the air. No sound, no movement. That moment makes everything feel like it's holding its breath, and your mind just can't catch up with the uneasiness that hits you. These pictures were taken in a quiet rural area in India, where folks are used to a wide open, peaceful sky. But in just a few hours, the video spread like wildfire and ended up on millions of screens across America and Europe. A lot of people right away thought of other times when similar dark streaks had been spotted cutting through the clouds in different parts of the world. When you zoom in on the frames, the details get even harder to make sense of. That black line is sharp as a knife, slicing straight through the sky, hundreds of feet long, standing perfectly still, even in strong wind, without getting blurred. It doesn't glow, doesn't shake, just sits there quietly, then suddenly disappears, leaving you with a cold chill, like you've just seen some kind of boundary being cracked open. Right then you start wondering, is this just a trick of the light or something we're not ready to face? Online, people quickly split into different camps. Some say it's a rare optical effect. Others believe the sky got glitched, like a computer error. A few even call it proof of something from outside Earth. In all the arguing, The real truth seems to slip away from anything we can easily name. In the Bible, Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." The words don't describe the exact shape, but they do talk about breaking the normal order when the sky stops being just a calm background. These dark streaks that appear and vanish make that old prophecy sound more like a hint than a finished story. Then Revelation 6:14 paints another picture worth thinking about. The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place. Looking at the video, you can't shake the feeling that space itself is being folded away. Even without thunder or fire, that total silence somehow makes the doubt feel heavier. Sure, skeptics point to drones or atmospheric illusions to explain it, but there are still things that don't quite add up. Why did these perfect dark lines show up in so many places at once, then disappear without a trace? Luke 21:11 mentions it in a calm but serious way. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven. Maybe the scariest part isn't the thing itself, but how thin the line has become between what we see and what we believe. When the sky no longer feels whole in our minds, the question left hanging isn't how it got torn, it's what might come pouring through that new opening. 3. The shocking explosion brought a fire of judgment. Everything just blew up in one single breath. No warning, no time for anyone to get ready. Did your heart sink when that peaceful moment got ripped apart by one huge boom? That second felt like a sudden wake-up call, making people look up and realize danger can hit any time. It happened in Barangay Manay, Panabo City, Davao del Norte, a busy neighborhood full of small workshops and houses packed close together. The fire started from gasoline drums and spread hundreds of feet in just minutes, turning the whole area into a wild sea of flames. Local news reported many homes burned down, people got hurt with burns and smoke-breathing problems, and firefighters took hours to finally get the fire under control. The moment those fuel drums exploded, bright red fire shot out like a volcano, and thick black smoke covered the sky. Screams echoed through the alleys. People ran everywhere in total panic. Some even fell right in front of their own doors. Local news said at least dozens of families were hit hard, losing years of hard work in seconds, all turned to ashes. The Bible in Joel 2:30 says it plain. "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." When you see those words next to that huge black smoke rising right in the middle of a neighborhood, that fire stops being just an accident. It starts looking like a strong warning, showing how weak we really are when things get out of our hands. Amos 4:11 keeps ringing like a serious reminder. "I overthrew some of you, like God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and you were like a burning stick pulled out of the fire." Seeing those half-burned houses left behind after the blast makes you feel like people barely escaped the flames. But the mark of judgment is still right there. The Apostle Peter wrote in 2 Peter 3:10, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar, the elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything done in it will be laid bare." When fire breaks out in everyday life like this, that verse doesn't feel far away anymore. It feels like it's pointing straight at what's happening right now. The fire in the Philippines didn't just burn things down. It rang a cold warning bell. Judgment doesn't come in ways we expect. It comes sudden and doesn't hold back. From that fire rising on the ground, look up to the sky, because another lightning strike might be waiting to come down. Right now, what's left isn't arguing. It's prayer for the victims who lost so much and are hurting from this tragedy. May God's mercy cover them and the families still shaking after that sea of fire. Amen. 4. Judgment lightning pillar. The light came first. Before any sound could catch up, a streak of pinkish red tore across the night sky like a sword hanging there in the middle of the air. It wasn't fireworks, and it sure didn't look like regular lightning. That moment made everyone just slow their breathing, like the sky had quietly opened up something we'd never named before. People spotted this in big cities, places where city lights usually hide the sky. It was a lot like those rare straight-up lightning pillars folks in Illinois and Birmingham have seen. The pink-red glow started high up in the clouds, stretching thousands of feet, hung there for a few seconds, then slowly faded, just long enough to leave you with this strange, uneasy feeling you couldn't quite explain. The bright column punched right through the dark clouds, pulsing gently with that odd pink-red color, lighting up the whole horizon that had been pitch black. Everything seemed to freeze. Tall buildings caught the light like cold mirrors. And right then, did you ever wonder, just for a second, if this was only nature or something being sent down from very far away? The Bible says in Exodus 19:16, "On the morning of the third day there was thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain and a very loud trumpet blast." Everyone in the camp trembled. That image of flashing lightning and thick cloud shows up so clearly in this red pillar, almost like sacred history is repeating itself, this time using the language of our modern sky. Right after those first moments, people started arguing like crazy online. Some said it was just a sprite lightning or some rare high-altitude plasma thing. Others pointed out that the long-lasting pink-red color meant this was some kind of energy science hasn't fully figured out yet. The calm observers just said, "Science is still looking for answers," while everyone else split between pure logic and gut feeling. Revelation 8:5 says, "Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake." When you put those words next to this red lightning pillar, the light stops being just a physical thing. It becomes a key, something that hints at an intervention from somewhere beyond. Luke 21:11 also says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven." Suddenly, this straight-standing lightning pillar in the city sky starts to look like one of those great signs, not to explain everything, but to wake up the part of us that's been sleeping too long. That light makes one thing very hard to deny. The sky is still speaking in its own way, and when the red finally faded, another shade of purple flickered low on the horizon, as if some eyes were quietly watching from very, very far away. 5. The eye of God. A soft purple-blue arc of light suddenly curved across the night sky, gentle, yet so sharp it took your breath away. Everyone who saw it just froze in amazement. It didn't explode or streak fast across the sky. It simply hung there, like it had come for a reason. Was this just a rare natural event? Or was it quietly asking us to look deeper at something unseen covering the heavens? People spotted this over Colombia, near Bogota and Cucuta. Many folks looked up at the same moment and felt the exact same thing. The curved band of light appeared at night, stretching hundreds of feet, drifting slowly before it faded away. It left everyone stunned and a little uneasy. No sound, no shaking, just the light and a heavy silence. The purple-blue glow bent like the edge of a giant eyelid, slowly closing, giving off a gentle but piercing light that cut right through the darkness. In that moment, you could really feel watched, not in a scary way, but in a holy way that's hard to put into words. A lot of people said their heartbeat slowed down, like they were standing in front of something bigger than everyday language can describe. Matthew 24:30 inches, the Bible says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory." When you put those words next to that curved light over Colombia, it feels like the light wasn't just there to be seen. It was there to be recognized as a sign. Afterward, people talked about it a lot, but opinions were all over the place. Some thought it was a UFO with a strange curved shape. Others felt it was a rare atmospheric thing, maybe plasma or some kind of light reflection. The science explanations tried to stay calm and neutral, but the deep, sacred feeling so many witnesses had was hard to brush off with formulas or charts. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." In that light, this quiet purple-blue curve becomes a gentle reminder. Signs and wonders don't always come loud and dramatic. Sometimes they arrive in stillness that moves your heart. Revelation 1-7 puts it plainly too. "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. And all peoples on earth will mourn because of him." That sky light, like a great eyelid closing, gives the feeling that nothing escapes that holy gaze. That purple-blue light quietly confirms something we believe deep down. We are not alone under this sky. And just as that eyelid seems to close somewhere else, shapes like wings are beginning to appear, a sign that something new is starting, waiting to be told. 6. Angel wings in the Texas sky. A gentle but strange beauty appeared behind thick, pure white clouds that looked soft as mist, making the Texas sky slow down in a very different rhythm. No sound at all, just a soft light spreading out, like a familiar shape stepping out from a sacred memory. Was it just clouds arranged by chance? Or a sign placed right where it could quietly wake up sleeping faith? Over Texas skies, near Henderson County and around Snyder, many people looked up at the same moment and captured that special sight. Long white streaks spread out like wings, stretching across many miles, appearing and disappearing behind gray clouds, right next to a bright orb that pulsed steadily. The scene wasn't dramatic, but it was deep enough to make hearts grow quiet with a mix of awe and hope. The white wings opened very slowly, their edges soft as if drawn with light. No sharp lines, no blinding glare. The glowing orb beside them moved gently, giving off warm light that made the whole sky feel holy in a way that's hard to describe. In that moment, you could sense a gentle presence covering everything. Not forceful, just quietly reminding you. Isaiah 6. 2 inches, the Bible says, above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. Those wings high above, covering and lifting, shine straight into the scene in the sky, like an ancient code being unlocked again through clouds and light. The feeling in the air wasn't fear. It was a blend of deep respect and quiet comfort. The light didn't rush down or disappear quickly. It stayed just long enough to plant a sense of being watched over. Every movement was slow and calm, as if the sky was trying to speak in the rhythm of peace. Matthew 24-31 says, "He will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his chosen ones from the 4 winds, from one end of the heavens to the other." When you put this verse next to those wide-open wings and that light, it stops being just a picture. It becomes an answer about a quiet gathering and preparation that's already underway. Hebrews 1:14 goes on to say, "Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?" So those white wings carry the meaning of care and guidance, not to scare anyone, but to strengthen faith in a world that keeps changing. The sight ended with a gentle certainty. There are forces watching over us beyond what human eyes can see. And as the wings slowly melted back into the clouds, the sky far away stayed open, like there are still other movements waiting to be noticed by those who stay awake and keep hoping. 7. Mysterious whirlwind. It came out of nowhere. In just a moment, the snowy mountain sky suddenly went dark, like an invisible hand had covered it. From the heavy clouds, a spinning motion began, quiet but very powerful, turning the peaceful mountain scene into something uneasy and unpredictable. This was caught on camera in the snowy mountains of Colorado and Montana, places with high peaks and harsh weather where you almost never see such clear, straight-up whirlwinds. A tall, gray-black column of spinning air reached from the clouds all the way to the ground, thousands of feet high, pulling up clouds of white snow before disappearing just as fast as it appeared. No siren, no weather warning, just silence suddenly torn apart by the moving wind. The thick clouds, twisted together like a giant funnel. The whirlwind dropped onto the mountainside like a huge trumpet blowing down from the sky, sucking up snow and air into its spinning center. The ground seemed to shake, everything disappeared in a white blur, and for a second, you could really feel nature showing a power way beyond what we usually control. Weather experts say these snow whirlwinds are sometimes called snow devils. They form when very cold air near the ground meets warmer air above, creating a short, spinning motion. But people who watched closely noticed that regular ones are usually small, last only a few seconds, and rarely stretch from the clouds all the way to the ground in such a huge way. The fact that there was no clear warning makes this one harder to fully explain. The Bible says in Job 38:1, "Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind." The picture of God speaking from a whirlwind gives this kind of wind a whole different meaning. One where the wind isn't just moving air, but also a way God gets people's attention. Weather studies also point out that high mountain terrain can make spinning air currents much stronger, especially when two very different air masses crash into each other. Still, the way this whirlwind appeared and vanished so suddenly, plus its almost perfect column shape, has many experts admitting there are still some things our current models can't completely explain. Nahum 1-3 says, "The Lord is slow to anger and great in power. He will not leave the guilty unpunished. The Lord walks in the whirlwind and the storm, and clouds are the dust of his feet." When you put that verse next to this snowy mountain whirlwind, the wind becomes a warning, a reminder that this power isn't just for show, but to wake us up. Luke 21:25 also warns, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." So a whirlwind in the middle of white snow starts to look like a sign, pointing toward bigger troubles slowly coming into view. That spinning motion makes one thing very clear. When the wind gets angry, the normal order of things can be turned upside down in the blink of an eye. And from these icy mountain peaks, in another part of the world, invisible winds are quietly building up, waiting for the day they break out even stronger. 8. Invisible whirlwind in Brazil. No warning siren, no clear funnel cloud, just the air suddenly feeling heavy, and then everything starts breaking apart. A big factory, thousands of square feet wide in São José dos Pinhais, Paraná State, got torn open in seconds by something you couldn't even see. When you watch that video, do you ever wonder what could bend steel and blow concrete apart while the sky still looks perfectly clear? What the camera caught wasn't a regular tornado. It was the swirling dance of debris being lifted high, spinning in the air like an invisible hand was moving it all. Walls collapsed from the inside out, the roof got sucked straight up into the sky, and the center of the destruction, it never showed itself. It didn't feel like an attack coming from one direction. It felt like being completely surrounded with no way out. Ezekiel 1-4 records. I looked, and there was a whirlwind coming from the north, a great cloud with flashing lightning all around it, and a bright glow. In the middle of the fire, something like shining metal. That picture isn't about ordinary wind. It's about a hidden power in motion, something you feel before you can see it. In Brazil, these whirlwinds only show themselves after the damage has already started. Before that, the air gets so quiet, it's almost scary, like everything is holding its breath waiting for judgment. Hosea 8-7 says, "They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. They have no stalk of grain. The bud will yield no flower." Even if it did, foreigners would swallow it up. The wind isn't just weather. It's the result, the harvest you can't undo. No long explanation needed. The wrecked factory speaks for itself. Wind doesn't need a shape to destroy, just like judgment doesn't need a warning before it hits. Matthew 24-7 warns, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Those troubles don't come alone. They spread like invisible shock waves." The whirlwind in Brazil leaves a cold message. When something unseen starts moving, people only realize it after the foundations are already gone. And if wind can strike without showing its face in South America, then up north, on Mexican soil, what might be quietly opening beyond the horizon? 9. The golden portal appears over Mexico. That moment, the sky above Mexico didn't look fierce or scary. Instead, it put on a strange, almost magical kind of beauty. Against a soft, pale blue cloud background, a golden circle appeared. It slowly swirled and glowed like fine golden glitter sprinkled across the sky. No loud boom, no wild shaking, just a sight that made people stop and look up, as if the sky had quietly opened up a gentle secret. Folks who saw it said the circle just hung there high above, probably a couple miles wide. The golden light kept moving, like it was gently turning around an invisible center. It didn't crash down, and it didn't disappear right away. It stayed long enough to make you feel this wasn't just some normal weather thing. Looking at it, did you ever wonder if our everyday world was brushing up against something beyond? Revelation 4:1 says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard, speaking to me like a trumpet, said, 'Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this.'" The picture of a door open in heaven isn't described with thunder or destruction. It's an invitation, with light and a voice that calls you forward. The golden circle over Mexico felt a lot like that. It didn't force fear on anyone. It just quietly opened the possibility of something bigger than what we usually know. It was beautiful, but not only for looking at. It was calm, but not empty. Acts 7:56 records. "Look," he said, "I see heaven open, and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God." That kind of sight isn't really about the physical sky. It's about a deeper reality being revealed. As the golden circle slowly faded and disappeared, what was left wasn't hard proof you could touch. What stayed was a question floating in people's minds. Ezekiel 1:1 says, "In the 30th year, in the 4th month on the 5th day, while I was among the exiles by the Kebar River, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God." Those heavens opening moments always seem to come when people least expect them, when the line between ordinary life and something holy gets real thin. The golden circle didn't announce itself or explain what it meant, but that very silence made people feel there are doors that only open for those willing to look past the surface. And after the gold light went out over Mexico, on the other side of the border here in the States, a strange cloud shape started slowly forming, like the story still isn't finished. 10. Clouds form a giant spine covering the sky. The sky above that small town suddenly looked strange, cold and eerie, enough to give you chills right from the first glance. Against the gray clouds, a tall, straight shape appeared, stretching way up from the horizon. Smaller bands of cloud spread out evenly on both sides, like sections of a backbone. When you look up at something like that, doesn't it feel like something quiet is watching you from above? Photos taken in a town in New York or Kentucky show this cloud formation stretching for miles, with nearly straight parallel lines that create a very unusual pattern. There was no wild movement, no thunder, just a heavy silence that made everything feel darker and gloomier than usual. The uneasy feeling didn't come from any immediate danger. It came from the shape itself, reminding people of a huge, invisible body casting its shadow over the earth. The main cloud pillar stood perfectly straight, with side branches spread out evenly, very strongly, suggesting an enormous backbone. Down below, life in the town went on as normal. But up above, the sky carried a cold reminder that made those who saw it feel how close life and death really are, separated only by a thin layer of clouds. Ezekiel 37:1 says, "The hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones." The dry bones in that vision aren't just about death. They mark the beginning of a judgment and a change that no one can turn around on their own. As the cloud bands kept spreading across the sky, they blocked out the sunlight, The scene felt like a day where the line between light and darkness had disappeared. Joel 2:2 describes it this way: a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like dawn spreading over the mountains, a large and mighty army coming, such as never was of old, nor ever shall be again, through all the generations. In the Bible, days of thick clouds always come with a serious wake-up call for humanity. Some people say it's just cirrus clouds lined up because of unusual weather conditions. But the shape is so clear, and the feeling it gives is so strong, that many find it hard to believe it's just a random thing. Revelation 6-8 warns, "I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him." That picture isn't meant to scare people into panic. It's simply putting the truth right in front of us, something we cannot escape. The bone-shaped sky doesn't say a word, but its silence rings out like a warning bell about how limited our time on Earth really is. As the cloud bands slowly fade away, one question still hangs in the air. If this final sign has already appeared overhead, what exactly is waiting ahead for those of us still standing under this sky? 10 signs have come one after another right before our eyes. They're not separate or scattered. They fit together tightly, like pieces of one single picture. From fires breaking out where things were barely holding together, to angry winds, strange shapes in the sky, and even those cold, eerie cloud formations that look like death itself, they all point to one deep message. When you put them side by side, you don't just see random events anymore. You see a clear series of warnings that's almost complete. The Bible says in Amos 3:7, "Surely the Lord God does nothing without revealing his secret to his servants, the prophets." These things aren't showing up just to make us curious for no reason. They're here to wake up hearts that have been sleeping. Each sign is like a gentle knock, but they keep coming, stronger and faster, on the spiritual door of every person. When the sky changes color and nature starts acting way outside its normal ways, that uneasy feeling isn't random. Luke 21:28 tells us, "When these things begin to happen, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." Even in the middle of fear and confusion, there's still a small light of hope for anyone willing to look up and really think about what's happening. But this hope isn't just a sweet lullaby to make us feel better. Romans 13:11 wakes us up and says, "You know the time, that now is the moment for you to wake up from sleep. For our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." The signs are already here. They don't let us stay comfortable and ignore things forever, because time doesn't wait for anybody. Right now, each of us has to choose: turn back or keep pretending we don't see. 2 Corinthians 6:2 reminds us, "Now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation." The door of grace is still open, but nobody knows when it will close. And sometimes, the most dangerous choice is staying completely silent when the warnings are sounding. If anything I've just shared touches your heart, take a quiet moment right now, say a simple prayer, or leave your honest thoughts in the comments. That sharing isn't just a reply, it's your way of answering the call that's ringing in this generation. And if this message means something to you, please help spread it. Support the channel, share it with others, and follow along so you won't miss the next reminder. May God's peace cover you and your family and guide every step in the days ahead. Amen.